Shana Tova, Shabbat Shalom. We just read Ma Tovu Oholechach Adonai, how great your tents, O Jacob. Jacob, of course, is another name for Israel. And as our rabbis predicted, even when we build our tents, which is a metaphor for our homes, they teach us to anticipate complications and technical difficulties. And therefore, we are truly sorry regarding our contemporary service that was going to be launched this morning at 9 a.m. We did not anticipate YouTube and the amount of congregations that would be uploading at the same time. We are truly sorry for those who participated in the service, and we're highly confident that at 1 p.m. you will enjoy this incredible service. And before we begin, in a COVID world of doing the services, there's a lot of moving parts. And for those who have noticed the different camera angles and of course the prayer book, so we have many people who are doing everything that we can to ensure the best spiritual process during this time. And be patient, of course, complications happen, but again, we apologize, and please join us at 1 o'clock for a truly incredible service. We now turn to page 115 in our prayer books. Some mitzvot sustain us not only in this world, but also in the world to come, and they are honoring our parents, acting with kindness and loyalty, eagerly pursuing Jewish learning at all times, welcoming guests, visiting the sick, rejoicing with couples under the chuppah, caring for the dead and mourners, delving deeply into prayer, and making peace among humans. And the study of Torah, this is the cornerstone. 122. (125). We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of all time and space. We call you Pokeach Ivrim, the opener of blind eyes. Help us to see your world in a new light. We call you Malbish Arumim, the dresser of those without clothing. Help us to put on garments of health and life. We call you Matir Asurim, the freer of captives. Help us to break free the bonds that keep us locked with ourselves. We call you Zokef Kifufim, the straightener of bent backs. Help us find the power to stand upright and proud. We call you Hamechim Atzadei Gaver, the steadiness in our steps. Help us to understand our journey ever more clearly. We call you Hanotein Layaf Koach, the source of strength for the weary. Help us to be strong and to be a source of strength for those we love. Nesim B'Kol Yom 124.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lesefim mina leavchin ben yom uben layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם זוקף כפופים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוק הארץ על המים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשה לי כל צורכי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ערומים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן ליעב כוח. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המעביר שינה מעיני ותנומה מעפעפיי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלם אלוהים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בן צחורין. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
129. Blessed are the works of your hands, O Holy One. Blessed are the hands that have touched life. Blessed are the hands that have nourished a child. Blessed are the hands that have embraced with love and friendship. Blessed are hands that have planted new seeds. Blessed are hands that have harvested ripe fields. Blessed are hands that have cleaned, washed, mopped, and scrubbed. Blessed are the hands that have held pain. Blessed are hands that have become knotty with age. Blessed are hands that have wrinkled and scarred from doing justice. Blessed are hands that hold the promise of the future. Blessed are the works of your hands, O Holy One. 135.
page 138. Hamelech Yoshev al kisei ram nisa Shochen ad maron vekadosh shemo Bechatuv ranenu tzadikim badonai Laisharim navat tehilah בפי ישרים תתרומם ובדברי צדיקים תתברך ובלשון חסידים תתרומם תתקדש ובקרב קדושים תתהלל ובמקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל ברינה יפעל שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אלכי העולמים. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברה חירותי בימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב מימרו. יתברך וישתמך, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לילה ולילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמא מאמרו.
For those who are able, we rise together, page 142. Please be seated. Page 144. In love you bring light to the earth and its creatures. Your goodness renews the creation each day. Infinite, varied, and rich are your works, divine artist, all of them wrought with wisdom. The whole earth is teeming with life. Awestruck by the universe, work of your hands, Let all life bless you, praise you, and celebrate the beauty of your light. May you shine a new light on Zion, and may we soon be privileged to share in that light. Our praise to you, Adonai, creator of the cosmic lights. 146.
Adonai ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם גרושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We continue on page 159. I try to walk the road of Judaism. Embedded in that road, there are many jewels. One is marked Sabbath, and one civil rights, and one kashrut, and one honor your parents, and one the study of Torah, and one you shall be holy. There are at least 613 of them, and they are of different shapes and sizes and weights. Some are light and easy for me to pick up. I now pick them up. Some are too deeply embedded for me, so far at least, though I get little stronger by trying to extricate the jewels as I walk the street. Some perhaps I shall never be able to pick up. I believe that God expects me to keep on walking Judaism streets and to carry away whatever I can of its commandments. I do not believe that God expects me to lift what I cannot, nor may I condemn my fellow Jew who may not be able to pick up even as much as I can. 164. We rise together for Tefillah 168. Please be seated. One of the main reasons that we, as a temple staff, wanted to switch to the new High Holiday prayer books was especially of the Unatonic Tokef. And in our old prayer book, and for so many years, when we read this liturgical poem, which is called a piyut, it's hard to process. It's extremely theologically challenging for us even to think of some of the words that is displayed as we say them and hear them especially. So on page 172, this prayer book allows us to process and to think about the history and perhaps contemporary understanding of what we do with this prayer and why we actually include it in the High Holiday liturgy. So on page 172, Catherine Madsen teaches us that the fantasy of Book of Life and God's judgment is memorable, but the extraordinary aspect of the prayer is its emotional impress. Any of us might die of anything, anytime, when, now or later, with or without warning, who by stroke and who by cancer, who by famine and who by plague, who by collision and who by explosion. We are grass, glass, shadow, cloud, atom. Certainly, it is imaginary. How else but through imagination do you talk about death in the community where you spend your life, with the people you know, the people you do business with, the people who help you, love you, employ you, exacerbate you. Indirection and fabled forms of delicacy, they create an atmosphere in which painful subjects can be raised without speaking of specific deaths that have wounded the people you know. The Unatonic Tokef was written in a time when fear and sorrow were closer to the surface of public life than they are now. But in private life, we still know that security is a thin veneer. God suspends the earth over the void, says a piyut in the Yom Kippur Shachri Amidah. The Unatonic Tokef shows us the thread on which it hangs. 174. Let us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love. You reign as a reign of truth. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal. You record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. 176.
Betis, or Betis.
The bottom of page 176. And show a great shofar will cry, Tekiah, a still, small voice will be heard. Angels in a world of fear and trembling will say, behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments. 178.
משקיט ומתערב משלב ומתייסר
On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted? But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree 180. You're everything that we praise you for, slow to anger, quick to forgive. You do not wish the death of sinners, but urge them to return from their ways and live. Until the day of death, you wait for them. You accept them at once if they return. Since you created us, you know our impulses. We are but flesh and blood. We who are mortal, our origin is dust, and so is our end. We wear out our lives to get our bread, like broken vessels, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by, mere dust on the wind, a dream that flies away. But for you, ever-living sovereign, time has no limits. Your presence, unbounded by days and years, is everywhere, a glorious mystery none can decipher. Your name is worthy of you, and you are worthy of your name. And our name you have linked with yours. We rise together for the Kedusha 184. Please be seated. We turn to page 194. You chose us with love to be messengers of mitzvot, and through us you've made known your aspirations. Among all many peoples, you gave us a pathway to holiness. Among all the great nations, you uplifted us and made yourself our sovereign. And so we seek you and serve you and celebrate our nearness to your presence. Your great and sacred name has become our calling. In your love, eternal, our God, you have given us the Shabbat and this day of remembrance, a day for the shofar's joyful sound, remembered and cherished in our hearts. A day of sacred assembly, a day to be mindful of our peoples going out from Egypt. We continue to the next page, 196. Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness. Together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel, may we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace, on this day of remembrance, 216. Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova. This morning I'd like to share a wonderful story about Howard Schultz, the former chairman and CEO of Starbucks, and Rabbi Nazim Tzvi Finkel, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Mir, which is the largest yeshiva in the world. The coffee magnate, along with a delegation of entrepreneurs, met with the rabbi in the religious neighborhood of Mea Shearim, located in Jerusalem. Schultz admitted at first that he really didn't know much about Rabbi Finkel, nor the yeshiva that he led. And after 15 minutes of anticipation, the sage welcomed them in his study. Schultz immediately noticed that Rabbi Finkel was severely suffering from Parkinson's disease. Schultz and the group, they naturally looked away because they didn't want to embarrass this incredible rabbi. Rabbi Finkel banged on the table and he said, "Gentlemen, look at me right now. I know that you are so busy for what you do in the business world, so therefore I got 15 minutes for you." Then the rabbi asked, "Who can tell me what the lesson of the Holocaust is?" And even the acumen of these entrepreneurs and business magnates, they couldn't find the right answer. One answered, "We will never forget." Another person nervously answered, "We will never, ever again be a victim or a bystander." Rabbi Finkel quickly dismissed both answers. He said, "You just don't get it. And let me tell you the essence of the human spirit. During the Holocaust, the people were transported in the worst possible inhumane way by rail car to a death camp. And after hours in this inhumane cold corral with no light and bathroom, they arrived at the camp. The train door swung open. Men were separated from women, mothers from daughters, and fathers from sons. As they went into the bunkers, only one person was given a blanket for every 6. The person who received the blanket needed to decide, am I going to push the blanket to 5 people who do not get one, or am I going to keep it for myself and stay warm? Rabbi Finkel concluded, it was during this defining moment that we learned the human spirit, this power, when we push the blanket to 5 others. Now take your blanket, take it back to America, and push it to 5 people. This is truly a wonderful message from 2, we can say, totally different people. A successful businessman who changed the coffee scene and an ultra-Orthodox rabbi. But sometimes it's the stories like this that really capture the spirit of the high holidays. It's at this moment when we welcome the new year, we yearn for hope and for new purpose. It's when we muster the strength to push the blanket so that 5 other people can be covered, as Rabbi Finkel really asks of all of us. But before we can do this, I think so many of us just want a better year. Since the first week of March, we've been hanging on a thread due to the pandemic. Some of us were hit hard, others of us were dealt a knockout blow. We thought about bankruptcy, we waited patiently for the PPP loan to arrive. The volatility of the economy certainly increased our anxiety. This disaster hit our pensions, our college funds, our savings, and we were also afraid, lonely, and isolated. We miss spending time with our family, our grandchildren, and friends. And many of us are still shell-shocked, trying to regroup and trying to recoup what was taken and what was unjustly removed from us. It's also been a tough year for this Temple family. We've experienced sudden staffing changes. We've welcomed new faces, new voices, a new organizational chart, and a new collaborative vision with leadership and staff. Novelty can be a rewarding experience, but sudden interruptions and uncertainty, it can still slither on the surface. We all know that change in general is difficult, and dealing with synagogue change during a pandemic, there's only one expression that we truly can say: oy vey. But nevertheless, the high holidays remind us about patience and introspection. It's during the high holidays is when we stand in judgment and assess our situation. Our liturgy teaches us that we cannot control our mortality, or whether the wheel of fortune will turn favorably in our direction. But Judaism has always tells us that we have the ability to respond to all of life as it is presented to us, even during this difficult year that we have all experienced. And during this defining moment of the coronavirus, we learned the power of the human spirit with ourselves and with our community. So many of you pushed and covered our city with your blankets. You have spent countless hours volunteering at food banks. You supported our most vulnerable populations. You have offered care, supplied school lunches, financial assistance, and emotional support. And some of our Birmingham Jewish agencies repurpose its operations to ensure that our Jewish values reaches every corner of this city during our trying times. And it's no surprise that Judaism teaches us, one who has fed strangers may have fed angels. But there's one question that still must be answered this morning. How can Temple Emanu-El push its blanket onto each of you? During these unprecedented times, synagogues are going to face a major crisis. We expect that some families will consider a sabbatical from synagogue life this year, or sadly, indefinitely. Some families can't commit to an additional online learning for their children's Jewish education. Our 138-year-old multi-generational synagogue is heading directly into a storm that we have never experienced in our existence. And as your rabbi, I feel that I must respond to these pressing concerns, especially as we welcome a new year, still filled with uncertainty, obstacles, and of course, empty pews. Because long before the coronavirus even reached our shores, America was still facing a battle with another epidemic: loneliness. Nearly 2/3 of Americans reported being chronically lonely before social distancing measures. And before these social distancing measures were forced upon us, this country saw a massive increase of deaths by suicide. Anticipating a greater mental health crisis, Temple Emanu-El would not allow loneliness to continue to wreak havoc on our members. This synagogue took on this crisis head on because this is what we do. Though we could not be together physically, the advancement of technology allowed us to celebrate the joys of Judaism together, just in a new virtual realm with some slight and early complications. Although while it is true it took us time to learn how to Zoom, or even to unmute ourselves, or to figure out who the host was, we still saw each other's faces. We still studied the Torah. We still welcomed Shabbat Queen. And we even celebrated our students becoming a Beit Mitzvah. And we still had our lunches with Hal on Fridays. It's not surprising that a recent survey indicated that individuals belonging to a religious community during this pandemic felt less lonely than those who not affiliate with the house of worship. Sometimes we can feel the warmth of a blanket, even through a computer screen. But when we can safely gather together